What's up, guys? I'm Scott, and today I've got our latest upgrade for this 2016 Street Glide behind me here. On any complete bagger build, individual upgrades like front, fenders, wheels, bars, etc. are really just the undercard upgrades. After having gone through a few of those upgrades on this project, it's time for the main event, the rear end kit. We've prepped and painted this Street Series rear end kit, and now it's time to mount it up and get this bike back on the road where it belongs. The Street Series is the ultimate balance for anyone looking to build a bike that looks really stretched out and well balanced visually while still being able to lay down a ton of mileage without the worry of scraping the bags on every corner and curb you come across. We're installing our bagger strip LEDs to give it a super clean look while providing plenty of lighting to be seen out on the road as well. We'll cap the bags off with a set of our competition series speaker lids as well, so this customer can expand the audio system on this bike down the road whenever he gets around to it. Rather than me rambling on further, let's get to it.
All right, so the first thing we're gonna do when we start the rear end install is we like to put the rear fender on first. So we're gonna get that ready to go, get that mounted on the bike. That's kind of the easiest thing to start with. There's gonna be several pieces you're gonna take off the original rear fender. You're gonna take off your stud plate, which you'll need if you're mounting a solo seat or driver's backrest, any of that kind of stuff. You're gonna want to transfer that over. It has these little plastic retention clips that you just spin on, basically like a nut. And then you're gonna have your 4 shoulder bolts, and of course the bolts that go through the frame. The 4 shoulder bolts will mount on the fender. It's 3/4 inch on each side with your wrench and ratchet. So you need your ratchet and a wrench for that install. One of the areas you can actually adjust the fender when you're done, if you need to make fine tuning adjustments and stuff, is you can actually just crack these shoulder bolts loose a little bit. They will slide up and down in their slots on the fender. So you can actually kind of shift the fender left to right, make some fine tuning adjustments like that. You can kind of pick the back end up by having the back too loose and let that come up, different things like that. It is kind of hard once you get it on the bike to reach up in there and retight everything. So you just want to kind of take your time with that. But if you do need to fine tune, that adjustment is available on the fender. A couple things we include, if we're painting it, we'll have your wiring zip tied to the fender. At least like on this where we're using the bagger strips, you'll get your plate light wire zip tied up. If you're using one of our bolt-on lights, the whole artist and everything's all set up and zip tied on there. The other thing you'll get on several of our fenders, like our Tree Series, like this one, competition, some of our older Summits and stuff, you'll get various bumper attachment pieces. These pieces help support the back of the fender, of course. They also give you some adjustment as well, to allow you to maneuver things and fine tune all the gaps and seams. Once you're ready to bring the rear fender over to the bike and put it on, there's some things you want to have loosened out of the way for you. It's easiest to loosen up this strut rail here and get that kind of pulled back to help you squeeze the fender through there. Your front fender bolt comes in through this front saddlebag pinhole, so you'll need to have that insert off the bag rail so you can get to that bolt. And then this back bolt comes in through right in here. As you'll see on the frame, if I can get a good angle here, the frame's kind of cut out. So you can see how those shoulder bolts that are on the fender need to come up from underneath. So you'll want to have the back of the bike lifted up in the air. In our case, we've got the air ride on, so we can just lift it up with that. If you just have a static suspension, you'll just want to get the jack under the back end of the bike and give yourself some room to slide up. The fender's going to basically kind of crawl up over the top of the tire, but underneath the frame rails here, and then you'll lift it up and start these 4 bolts. You'll want to have your bumper bracket loose, of course, so that you can split the saddlebag supports away from the frame and give yourself some room as well to work. So before I get too much further, one of the first things I'm going to do is I'm going to get this bumper bracket attached to factory bumper bracket in this case. Well, it's a 2-piece bracket, so what we'll do is we'll just keep this part loose so you keep this swiveled out of the way, and it'll be easier to kind of feed it up and on the start of a fender. But right now, while you got access to the bumper, it's a lot easier to get this installed out there in the open. All right, now we'll get the fender. We'll get that snaked up in here. Like I said, it's going to come up underneath the frame and lift it up. Try to rock it down from above and never get that thing squeezed in there. And I did have my fender bolts ready, so use in with your T45 or T40. And that's our rear fender install.
Once you've got your rear fender all mounted up, the next step, and the easiest one of all, this is the stretch side covers. Our side covers all come in just like your factory side covers, so it's just going to pop into the grommets. It legitimately does not get any easier than this part of your install.
All right, rear fender's on, side covers are in. Now it's time to get to work building the bags and finishing this thing up. We've already got a really nice assembly video for putting together the speaker lids with latches, putting the bags together. So I'm just gonna run through this install. A couple quick things I'll kind of reiterate from those videos. When you put the handles on these 2014 and up style latches, make sure you Loctite these bolts. The one side, every time you use it, it'll want to counteract the screw, so it'll basically twist itself loose over time if you don't get the Loctite on there. So anytime you take these apart, make sure you get Loctite back on those. For our 6x9 speaker lids, these rings have to be installed after the grills are on and after the latches are in the lids. So these will be the last thing you put in. You'll reach up in here and put all these screws in to hold the ring to the lid. And these are left and right specific as well. So with all that being covered, I'm gonna go ahead and get started with the install. And like I said, if you want a little more in-depth view of the install, we do have a really nice instructional video on the video section of our website as well. So I'll get started. Now with your lids assembled, you can start assembling them or attaching them to the bags. Also, don't forget to put in your lower saddlebag support cushions and the isolator cushions for where the bag's attached to the bike. You want to have those in place as well. All right, we got everything buttoned up here on our Street Series rear kit install. This bike's ready to go. We just got to add our taillights next. You can check that out later on when we put on our bagger strip taillights and show you how the wiring and everything works on that. You can check all these parts out at baddad.com or give us a call anytime to help out.